Hello everyone! Today's video is about how to make your own Canne compact gloves. There's no specific description in the rules of how they are supposed to look like, but the two main features are that they allow your hand to be completely free so that the handling of the cane is not obstructed, and that they protect your hand and ankle against hits. This is a selection of different right-handed gloves that Thomas and me have used over the years. This, for example, is a very simple one out of a single piece of padded but inelastic fabric, while other versions have rubber straps like these to fasten the glove around your arm with hook and loop tape. Rubber straps are also used in this version of a glove, but attached to the other side. While gloves often have only a thin layer of padding below your wrist, they often have additional layers at the backhand and the finger area. But there are many options. Like this glove from Thomas, where a quite solid piece of foam is inserted in a pocket at the height of his knuckles. For fastening the glove to your fingers, you can also use some rubber straps. While I prefer quite broad straps, Thomas usually chooses a thin one. Also, there are different options of how to arrange these rubber straps. Single loops can, for example, accommodate several fingers at the same time, or only individual fingers. For your thumb, some gloves use a pocket, but as you can see here, they wear off quite quickly and break through, so it is advisable to also use a rubber band in this position. The glove we will be making today has 3 low loops for the lower finger sections and an additional one for the middle section of the middle finger that makes sure the glove closes with your hand. It also has a rubber strap for your thumb. This glove fastens with 2 broad rubber straps and has enforced protection at the back of your hand, while only a thin padding layer below the wrist. The material you need for one glove are 2 pieces of fabric of 40 by 50 centimeters and some padding material about the same size. There's padding of different thickness available. I usually choose a quite thin one, but always use multiple layers. Then 2 pieces of 4 to 5 cm broad loop tape around 13 cm long and 1 piece of hook tape about the same size. 2 pieces of 4 to 5 cm broad rubber band about 15 cm long and a thinner rubber band of around 40 cm. Also some thread in the color of your fabric. The tools you need apart from a sewing machine are cutting tools for fabric and thread, measuring and marking tools, markers, like for example this special fabric pen, or some chalk. I also use some fringe glue. And finally, fixing pins. I prefer slightly longer ones as we are working with padding. We will now make a right-handed glove corresponding to this one. But as the black fabric is difficult to see on video, I have chosen 2 pieces of 2 different and lighter colors. These 2 pieces also have a right and a wrong side, which you normally don't have in unicolored fabric, but what has to be taken into account for printed fabrics. I will use the blue piece for the inner side of the glove and the pink one for the outer side. I start with the fabric piece for the inner side and on its wrong side, thus printed side down. You can find a link to this pattern in the video description. Note that you only will use it as a guideline and that you will adjust the glove to your own hands. Place the pattern in the middle of the wrong side of the fabric so it corresponds to your right hand. The right side of your fabric will later lie on top of your hand, so make sure that the pattern is not placed mirrored. Pin your pattern on the fabric and mark its outline. You then want to put markings of some anchor points on the right side of the fabric. Namely, the corner point between your index finger and your thumb, the end position of your thumb, and the end position of your middle finger. For that, place your hand inside the pattern and stick in fixing pins at these positions. Make sure that your hand is in a relaxed and slightly open position as you would normally hold it. So neither finger spread out nor fingers completely closed. Make sure that you go in deep for the corner, because you won't be able to properly manipulate your cane if this point is too far up. Turn the fabric and mark the fabric with your pen at these positions. For the next step, you can either place your right hand with its back facing down on the fabric, or use your left hand palm facing down. We now want to determine the position for the finger loops of the rubber strap. Place your hand on the fabric so that the 3 marked points are exactly met. Again, use the relaxed hand position. Then put down marks for the lower finger section of your index, ring and little finger, plus the middle section of your middle finger. Use one line between the fingers that are close to each other, but 2 lines for fingers that have a gap, like between my ring and my little finger. Do the same for the lower section of your thumb. Make sure that the markings are only along the finger section and that you leave all knuckles free. Now place the rubber straps and draw in horizontal lines to mark the width of the rubber straps. Check with your finger if your knuckles are left free. Note that for the long strap, you might have to angulate a bit if, for example, your little finger is abducted from the rest of your hand. When your markings are done, test again for your knuckles. If you put a rubber strap around a knuckle, your hand will not be able to move freely in the glove. This is how your fabric should look like close up. You now should pin down the rubber straps. Start with a long rubber strap and pin it flat to the fabric in the position of the middle finger. Then create a loop around your ring finger. Make sure that it's neither too tight and restricts your finger, nor too loose so that the glove does not move with your hand. Angulate the strap if necessary and pin it down to the fabric. Do the same with your little and index finger. Leave some excess at the sides. For the middle finger, we don't want excess tape, so pin it down with folded sides. Check if your hand and all fingers are able to move. Sew the rubber straps on with your sewing machine. I use a stitch length between 2 and 3. For every seam, perform fixing stitches by sewing back and forth over the beginning and at the end of your stitches with the backwards lure on your machine. The seam should not only cover the rubber strap, but should be visible for a few millimeters before and after. For the middle finger strap, cut down the inward-facing excess so that only a few millimeters are left. Seal the edge with fringe glue. Turn the fabric back to its wrong side. The seam should now roughly be located within your pattern, but might deviate a bit. You can now adjust the pattern to exactly fit your hand and finger position, but be aware to leave some excess at the sides, as the fabric will bend up and thus be effectively smaller when the padding is added. Mark down the adjustments on your pattern. Also adjust to the point where your palm meets your wrist at the thumb side and extend along the lower part of the glove. Check if the glove still encloses your arm completely and adjust if necessary. Also check from the other side if your markings are correct. The glove shall cover the back of your hand fully, but not wrap over to the palm. For the next step, turn the fabric so that the right side faces upwards. Put the second fabric, right side facing downwards, on top of it and flatten out. Turn back to the inner side to adjust the padding layers. Of my thin padding, I use 2 layers for the whole glove, but I put additional layers at the back of my hand and even more over the finger. Then place the fabric on top of the padding and pin everything together at the lower part of the glove. For the upper part, you have to make sure that the rubber bands are placed correctly before pinning. You want the excess rubber straps to run over the glove outlines, as you want to sew them in when you sew the layers together. For the thumb strap and the index finger strap, you also have to take care that each strap does not overlap with the outline on the other finger, respectively. Also, make sure that the individual loops are not sewn over. Finish pinning down at the upper part of the glove. Then sew along the outline of the glove, but leave the outer part below the wrist out so you can still turn the glove after sewing. Remove the pins and check if your hand still goes into all the rubber loops on the inside. You can now cut off the excess fabric, but make sure you leave around 2 cm of seam allowance. Leave more allowance at the open side of the glove. Before you cut down more rigorously, turn the glove and check whether everything went right, especially with the rubber straps. If everything is in order, cut down to about a half to 1 cm before the seam. Trim down the edges carefully, but not right until the seam. Now, only cut the padding down very closely to the seam, but make sure not to damage the two fabric layers. At the thumb, you have to cut in quite far in the corner between thumb and index finger. Make sure you don't damage the seam. Use the glue in the index finger thumb corner against fringe. Turn the glove inside out, including the thumb, in all corners. The glove should now be in the right shape, covering the back of the hand but leaving the palm free. To give the glove padding more stability, you should fix it by sewing a pattern onto the glove. I use horizontal lines with a distance of 7.5 centimeters, but only where the padding is thin, so not in the finger area. The upper seam I apply parallel to the rubber strap, so not completely parallel to the rest. The vertical lines I draw in parallel to where I want to close up the glove, again in distances of 7.5 centimeters, including where I want to close. Then remove the excess padding at this position so that only the fabric layers remain. Back to the sewing machine. For the horizontal seams, do not sew them right to the end, so you still be able to close the glove. The last horizontal line should be right at the bottom of the glove. Continue with the vertical seams. In the next step, you will attach the rubber straps to the open side of the glove and shut it at the same time. Fold the open fabric pieces inwards. Cut them smaller if necessary. Fix with pins. Insert the rubber straps, but allow some excess inside the glove. The straps should fit between the horizontal seams. Sew the glove shut with 2 parallel seams. Crop down the 2 strips of loop tape and pin them down to the side opposite the rubber straps on the outside facing side of the glove. I prefer to use quite long strips so that you're still able to fasten the glove when the rubber straps start to wear out. To attach the hook tape to the rubber straps, check how they should be positioned. You should not attach them too close to the glove, as it won't give the rubber much room to expand. Once you know where to put the hook tape, cut the rubber band back, but leave an allowance of about 1 to 2 centimeters so you can fold the rubber band inwards under the hook tape. Fix with pins. Sew it on along its rim, but also sew in 2 diagonal lines to increase stability. Lastly, remove all the excess thread. And there it is, your Canne glove. Please let us know if you have questions or comments.